All systems go, Michael.
So we're at Nismo today. Thought I'd drop by to check out some cool GT-R stuff. So this is Nismo Omori Factory. It's basically the mecca for anybody that owns a GT-R. And if you turn around here, you'll see that usually they have a very nice display of cars, ranging from probably, when Nissan started racing in the 60s and 70s, all the way up to the new Nismo factory-built cars, like the Note and the Leaf and the Z, which they don't have today. But we do have some cool cars to look at today, so we're going to take a look at the gallery first, and then we'll go into the shop, check out some parts, and check out the new R3 engine. So Nissan history is vast. I'm not going to go into history and numbers and stuff like that, but we'll take a look at this S30 works race car, and then kind of migrate here to my personal favorite here. This is the R34 Super GT. Actually, I think it was still JGTC back in the day. So this is when they transitioned from the RB to the VQ engine as they were developing the Z. So it's not really a true R34 GT-R, but it's probably design-wise my favorite. You see how the body has sunk and the fender kind of protrudes through the bonnet line. And the resulting profile really emphasizes the R34 boxy lines with some curvature, and it really is, for me at least, the best interpretation of the R34 and its, racing guise. And we're seeing that now. So Nissan has just announced how they will transition from the GT-R, R35, to the new Z. So we're repeating 20 years later what happened in the early 2000s, where there was a transition from the GT-R to the Z. And this will be the car that's getting replaced. This is the 2022 or 2021 Super GT R35. Unfortunately, we don't have a new Z Super GT to show you, but you would have seen that in the Tokyo Auto Salon coverage. And again, it's amazing to see how these cars have evolved and gotten to such levels in 10 plus years of racing. And we really have to go and check out some Super GT racing on this channel. I think it would make for some really cool content. I'm not really gonna stay there and kind of like talk you through racing and overtakes and all that stuff. I think we'll probably do like a pit walk if they allow us, and we'll just check out the coolest thing, which is obviously the cars and how they kind of transition from street cars to race cars. It's not gonna be as cool as it was back in the late 90s and early 2000s, but Super GTs are pretty cool, so we'll probably check that out. So another cool thing about Nismo is that these days they make versions of pretty much most models that come from the Nissan lineup. And we have two here, the Leaf and the Note. So basically, they want to promote EVs these days, so there's a kind of electric theme going here. Obviously, they're missing the Z, unfortunately, but and the interesting thing about this Note is that it's actually motor-driven. But it has an onboard generator which charges the battery and in turn runs the motor. So an interesting take on what modern day sports cars are, and one we'll definitely add to the channel for future test drives. But we all know what we're here for, so let's come here and have a look at the proper Nismo stuff. So we have a car that I shot probably, I would say like 8-9 years ago now for Speed Hunters. This is a CRS, the Clubman Race Package. This is what Nismo is able to, build for you. It's a complete restoration, and they've added one of their engines. I forget now. I think it's running the R3 development engine at the moment, and of course that flows back to the R33, which I also featured for Speed Hunters some years back, and then the R32, all finished off in the darker Nismo silver. And here's the big daddy, the Z-Tune. This is the 000 or 001, I forget now, their development car. I drove this car back in 2001 or 2 when they first did the drive. And this car recently went for $2 million. I forget where, but I mean, it's crazy what these cars are doing out in the market these days. It doesn't seem to be stopping. And I guess it's great if you're a 34 owner because it brings up the value of the regular cars. You know, what can you say? Nismo does amazing things, and you can see some customer cars being worked on in the background here in the workshop. Some are in for maintenance, some are in for complete restorations. You can usually tell which cars are being restored because they have racks with all the parts that are being taken off. So those parts either get rebuilt, cleaned up, or completely replaced with new ones. So you can basically bring in your 20-year-old GT-R or 30-year-old if it's a 32 and bring away a year later a brand new, fully restored, Nismo branded GT-R, because you do get a plaque that you put in your engine bay, and that would be an instant value booster and exactly what collectors will be looking for. So it's a very interesting market, and it's continuously growing price-wise. And the good thing is parts-wise too, because Nismo and a lot of other manufacturers like HKS are continuously developing and producing newer parts for the RB and the older GT-Rs in general. So very cool.
Start talking now.
So yeah, they just sold this car for $2 million US, and originally back in 2001 or 2 when this was first made, it was selling for 18, 19 million yen, which I thought was an absurd amount of money back then. But looking back, I should have probably gotten 10 loans and bought the car myself and then maybe retire on it, but yeah, didn't do it, so I have to stick with my 34. There's a lot of cool stuff to see at Nismo, and one of my things that I always come and take a look at it, even though it's been on display for years, is this 40% scale model of 2013 GT500 GT-R. And you can see how they develop the aero here. I should probably have Andrew Brilliant here with me explaining stuff, but basically they 3D print all these aerodynamic add-ons, and every season they replace these because obviously the base car is kind of the same, and they play around with aero, stick this on the moving belt in the wind tunnel, and then they do all their measurement and see what works, what doesn't, what's going to be legal for the next year's regulations. So it's really cool to see how it's all developed, and they have a ton of data and numbers on it. I have no idea what that means, but really cool to see. And of course, made out of carbon fiber. No idea why this needs to be carbon fiber. The wing is actually wood, and from the back you can see how the diffuser is also a big component of the whole aero package, and probably one of the things that kind of changes more through the seasons. I mean, I don't know why they don't use this a bit more. It's all GT-Rs, R35s. I think it's Tomica, yeah, the Tomica 35. And if you look at it from far away, it just looks like a GT-R logo, but if you zoom in, it's hundreds of R35s. And I think this is the perfect car to kind of explain the fender flare obsession that we have these days. I mean, at the end of the day, they are very much related to history. This is what people used to do back in the day. They used to create these massive over fenders to fit race wheels and tires. And they were works cars that were built and paid for by the manufacturer. So they didn't have the technology they have today. So when they needed to create bigger space under the wheel, well, they extend the wheel arches forward, to the side rather, and we have the over fender or works fender. And I'm sure you've seen this logo repurposed many times. That's what Rocket Bunny has used for years now. Okamoto Riken Gomu, safety drive. Guess it was the rubber company. You know what I mean. So another thing you can find at Nismo Omori Factory, cool engines on display. This is a Group A R32 engine from the late 80s. This is basically the heart of what made the GT-R super famous, super popular, and legendary. It was built by Renesas engine, produced anywhere from 500 to 650 horsepower with the overboost function on the steering wheel. And of course, it was running twins. It's pretty much N1 based, very light in internals, and I'm not even sure if they were allowed to touch the heads, but definitely like lumpy cams or anything like that. And that kind of progressed into what we have here. This is from the R34 GT-R, JGTC engine. So as you can tell, they went to a dry sump system here. That's the external pump. And they have cool things like, carbon fiber front cam covers. They have magnesium cam covers on the top. And my personal favorite is, aside from the different design of the manifolds, is the titanium heat shields, which I always thought would be cool to kind of replicate on street GT-Rs, but you can barely see that part anyway, so it doesn't really make any sense. But I think the main reason we're here today is to see this. So this is one of the many engine packages that Nismo offers these days. This has recently been upgraded to R3, so it's the R-Tune engine package, which went from R1, R2, and now R3. So I think the differences are the turbines and slightly different fueling on the intake. We'll probably have to ask them for a rundown on the specs, but again, as I was saying, Nismo, along with other manufacturers, continues to evolve the R30, the RB engine in all its entirety, and continues to offer more choices to customers. So when you completely restore your car, you might as well go for an engine, so there's a lot of choice now. As I was looking over this 35 race car, got to mention this. So this car's been driven for years by Ronnie Quintarelli, which is a fellow Italian. He comes from Verona, I come from Vicenza, we're probably like 30 minutes away. Cool guy, representing Italy in Japan and doing it right. He's won the championship so many times. And this year he'll be driving the new Z, so one driver to look out for. The coolest thing about these GT cars is how they literally just cut the lower section of the car and just drop the car on the wheel arches. So basically the wheel arches start protruding through the bonnet line and the rear fender line. And it's what gives these cars this really aggressive silhouette from the side, and especially the front with the louvers after the wheel well. It's unbelievable. But that still wins. So this is one cool thing I like about the Nismo parts catalog. It's always been this titanium strut brace, which went out of production for like 8 to 10 years, and it's reappeared in a kind of new design, selling for 165, which is about 100,000 yen more than the original part used to cost. It kind of emphasizes the whole pricing, how it's bumped up. And if you come around this corner, this is a really good example here. This is the stock R34 shifter, which is actually currently on my desk as a paperweight. I think it used to sell for like 2,000–3,000 yen, and now it's 21. That's part of the Nissan Genuine Parts Heritage Program. And that's another cool one. I think that's about 10,000 yen more expensive than it used to be. I remember this being around the 10,000 yen mark, which 15–20 years ago was expensive for a shift knob, but 20,000 I guess is the going rate for 2022. Big dream stuff for me. The carbon fiber Z-Tune front package, so including the aero fenders, the slightly wider fenders, and the bumper. They don't have the bonnet on display here, but you're looking at, it would be 1,000,000 yen for the front bumper, the undercover, the front fender kit, and the hood, and the diffuser assembly. So that would be Now you're looking around 4 million yen plus paint. So there's a lot more carbon fiber if you want it. This is the carbon air box, which you can match up to the carbon fiber intercooler piping. It gives a nice look to the engine bay. Nothing like carbon to emphasize the look. And you can see what those parts look like in the CRS R34 over there. Okay, so this is the breakdown of what the R3 package is made out of. It's basically an upgrade on the turbo side, on the turbocharger side, and of course the fueling to go along with it. And you can kind of add this to the R1 package and get a bit of extra power, a bit of extra response, and of course the fueling to match that. Back in the day when I actually first shot at Nismo, when they opened this new facility, I remember taking special interest in the toilet, and that's because aside from the camshaft handle on the door, you come inside here and the race theme is well and truly alive. And another cool thing here is the carbon fiber rotor that houses the mirror in a wall full of cams. So when you're peeing, you have something to look at. And I think before I get out of here, I definitely want to get a drink for the road. And of course, you can always find vending machines in Japan. We have all sorts of drinks, from green tea to canned coffee, and I think I might actually go for a Boss Black. Black coffee awesomeness. Hope you guys enjoyed. See you in the next episode.